John, let's get to the DC Open that just wrapped up over the weekend. First on Saturday, we had Leylah Fernandez capture the title. She showed some serious moxie through her run to the win. Let's talk about her performance and some of the greats that she made her way through to capture that title.
Yeah, what a week for Leylah Fernandez. And yeah, I think we forget how young she is as well. This was a player who came within 2 sets of winning a major 4 years ago. And we forget, wait, she was a teenager when that happened. The other thing I have to say about DC, I was there actually for non-tennis, for 60 Minutes reasons. It was so oppressively hot. Remember those days we had at Wimbledon last month, and we people sort of, there were fans that unfortunately had some health issues in the stands. This in DC was just next level heat and humidity. So apart from beating that murderer's row of players, for both both men's and women's side, bear in mind this heat and humidity was absolutely brutal, and I think that ought to be a factor in our analysis. But no, I think Leylah Fernandez, she sort of had this really, really tough semifinal battle, 7-6 in the third against Rybakina. Great contrast in styles. I mean, Fernandez certainly on the diminutive side on the WTA against the ace leader of the tournament, and it just came down to a few points deep in that third set. And Fernandez battles as she does, and then to come back the very next day and win a final so handily, that says a lot. All of a sudden, she goes to Canada. She's going to be, she'll be back in the top 25. She goes to Canada, of course. That is the closest thing she will get to a home slam. Then she comes to the U.S. Open, where she has these great memories. This is a player she's got a lot of sort of commercial endorsements, and I think that in some ways has been great for her upside. I think in some ways that may have been a bit of an added source of pressure. But no, here she is, 22 years old, and we forget, I think, how young she is. We forget how many looks she can give. There's a lot of variety to that game. Obviously, being left-handed helps. And suddenly you say, wait a second, this is a player with some real upside. And that was a great week for her in DC.
On the men's final, we saw Alex de Minaur pull off a stunning win over Davidovich Fokina after saving multiple match points to claim his 10th career title. JW, what do you make of that 3-hour plus battle, especially in the heat?
Tennis is a cruel sport. You're Davidovich Fokina. You beat Taylor Fritz and Ben Shelton. You're a point away from winning your first title. You too are going to have a career high ranking after this, likely, and then you just can't quite seal it. And a tournament that in so many ways should fire you with so much confidence and optimism ends up with you crying. It's rough out there. No, Davidovich Fokina is a very fine player. It's really surprising he has not won a tournament. You'll remember at Del Rey, he also, another American hardcourt event just a few months ago. He also, I believe, had match points and lost a 3-set final. That was to Kecmanovic. To have that happen to him again, I mean, Alex de Minaur is absolutely the wrong player you want on the other side of the net if you have trouble closing. And some of this, let's give our credit to de Minaur, who wins still another title, shows why he's this top 10 stalwart, just a solid pros pro. I mean, I don't know if you saw that one match point that he saved was just one of the points of the year. And then I don't know if you caught this too, yeah. the gesture of sportsmanship afterwards.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, and so I think de Minaur gets it. And I think also, remember that de Minaur is Australian, but has all of these ties to Spain. Trains there, speaks Spanish, family there, and I think that may have impacted that as well. He's known Davidovich Fokina for a long time, but yeah, I mean, you win a title and you're thrilled, but you don't exist in a vacuum. And Alex de Minaur, of all people, he knows the sting that's coming on the other side of the net, and then to see your opponent in the final basically dissolve into tears is a jarring sight. So bit of a bittersweet, bit of a bittersweet day. Credit to de Minaur, but you really hope Davidovich Fokina, one of the good guys out there, can break through and win that first title.
Let's shift gears off court. Naomi Osaka has parted ways with her head coach, Patrick Mouratoglou. John, what more do you know about this split?
I don't think this was a huge surprise. This has been a relationship of less than a year. Naomi Osaka's won a fair amount of matches, but not at the biggest and best events. She just took a loss at Emma Raducanu in Washington, D.C. Her coach, Patrick Mouratoglou, wasn't there. I think some of this is about results. Some of this is about logistics, that Patrick's got his hand in a million pots and he's promoting a book and he's doing the tennis showdown, and Naomi's based in Miami and Patrick's an ocean away in Nice. I also think I'm not sure what sort of, Patrick is a guy that pumps a player up with confidence. I think he's much better known for that than any sort of tactical expertise. And if a player doesn't necessarily have confidence, as Naomi doesn't appear to have much of right now, I'm not sure what the relationship is all about. I've heard something interesting. I've heard it's Monday, so who knows? This will either be out there or disproven. But my moles tell me that she will be working at least in Canada, Cincinnati, and the U.S. Open with Thomas Wiktorowski, longtime coach of Iga Swiatek, our guest. Keep in mind, too, that, it's an interesting match, and I don't know what the overlap is there. Thomas worked with Agnieszka Radwanska, who was, I think, the first client of Naomi's agent, Stu Dukic. So I think there's some familiarity, at least through the agent. But Thomas Wiktorowski getting the call from Poland, and I think at least through North American hard courts, I'm told he will be the aide de camp. Interesting move there.
Yeah, John, when I look at these stats, I was reading the Athletic article about it, and it says 6 of Osaka's last 7 matches had come in 3 sets, with all of the deciders ending 6-4 against her or in tie breaks. So maybe it is, heading into a tournament she knows well, in a surface she knows well. It maybe trying to find somebody to give her that little edge.
Yeah, and sometimes she's really close, and you watch the level and you watch how deep she gets into these matches, and you say, okay, then she's not that far off from the player who won 4 majors. She's having a hard time, though, pulling those matches out. And, this is the issue when you've had the success that she has had. It's been a very strange career, sort of in terms of rhythm, and she's sort of won back-to-back majors twice, but then we'll go years without getting to the second week of a major. When you've won 4 majors and you had the success she has, you're not in this to get to the 3rd and 4th round. So I think she's looking to get back to the level where she once was, and I think, she's encroaching on age 28. I suspect the last year's been pretty frustrating.
Another coaching change, Stefanos Tsitsipas has returned to his family tutelage. Can you tell us about that split?
Gorani Venisovich is going to have we're not quite at 30 for 30 level, but he could do quite a short about 2025 in his coaching misadventures. Remember, he was part of the Elena Rybakina team and all that came with it. In Australia, sort of left that situation sort of fairly unceremoniously, hooks up with Tsitsipas. That has a curious dynamic as well. I think after those remarks, do you remember the remarks that Goran made at Wimbledon after Tsitsipas lost? And essentially, whether this was to motivate or whether this was just one of the great tennis truth tellers telling his truth, it did sort of strain, it's strain the imagination that relationship would continue. We've talked before on the podcast, and maybe Andy and I, maybe we'll even do a deeper dive about this whole parent coaching their kid dynamic and where sort of family loyalties sort of cut off and optimizing professional capabilities begin. It seemed like a really fraught situation. And now Gorani Venisovich, for his 3rd job of the year, we're not even out of July. It looks like he's going to be working with Jasmine Paolini, at least on these North American hardcourt events. So Gorani Venisovich, again, I don't think we're quite at 30 for 30 level, but he will have an interesting college essay, if nothing else, about the 2025 coaching arrangements he's had.
Tsitsipas called it a, quote, brief but intense experience and a truly valuable chapter in my journey. So intense was probably the best way to describe it based on all the commentary in the public. Last thing, John, I know we didn't go over this, but I wanted to get your commentary on it. We talked about it on the Friday 5-setter, but the Wimbledon, win in the courts about expansion. I wanted to get your take on what you think that means, not only for Wimbledon as a whole by tripling its almost tripling its footprint, but for tennis as a whole and for all the other slams.
Man, we could do like half. I'm kind of sort of fascinated by this whole topic. And for a while, one of my takes on Wimbledon was how much money they passed up, and they didn't get into the naming rights game, and they didn't have so many sponsors, and you don't see the back walls plastered. And all of a sudden, this looks like a pretty savvy move from a business perspective. This event is going to absolutely change. There's going to be this 8,000 seat stadium. There are going to be more than 36 courts. And it's going to take a while. This isn't going to happen tomorrow. I think they're talking early 2030s. And one thing about Wimbledon, you noticed it, Mike, when you were there. Great event. Nobody walks away disappointed. One of these bucket list experiences, but it's pretty crowded. Mm-hmm. And if there's a way to allow more people to experience Wimbledon, people are spending the night camping out in a field in order to experience this, if this creates more opportunities for people to enjoy Wimbledon. I mean, obviously the bigger picture for tennis is this fits into, some of this is the arms race among the four majors. And I think Wimbledon's going to lurch significantly ahead now. I mean, just in terms of square footage, but also just amenities now, and the hospitality picture will change. And the fact that the qualifying rounds will be on site will turn this into a 3-week event the way the US Open is. And also, I think this is just another indication that the four majors are really the coins of the realm for tennis. And I would not want to own one of the tour events the week before Wimbledon, when Wimbledon inevitably goes to 3 weeks, and we're going to have fans and qualifying, and it's going to be a 3-week tournament basically. And I mean, I think you reserve a sliver of sympathy for the neighbors who are very unhappy about this, and they're going to have dump trucks outside their house for the next 5 years. But I think sort of big picture, it's good for Wimbledon. It's good for the common fan, not just for balance sheets, but I think the average fan will now have a lot more opportunity to experience Wimbledon. I think it's kind of inevitable. And the trick that Wimbledon seems to master so well, the needle thread, is keeping tradition, keeping everything that's special, but also growing with the times. And we'll see. They've been to this point, they've done that delicate dance really, really skillfully. Let's see if they can continue now that their square footage is going to expand so dramatically.
Yeah, biggest thing for me is they're probably going to have to build a bigger tube station at South Fields, because that thing was like ridiculously bad.